Neither WJOU or its licensee, Oakwood University, necessarily share all the views expressed in its programs. They are, however, presented as public information.
Good afternoon and welcome to Second Chance. Second Chance is a weekly talk show that examines a wide range of social issues and seeks to inspire physical, emotional, social, and spiritual healing, believing that God is a God of second chances. And through faith, all things are possible. Second Chance airs live each week from the beautiful campus of Oakwood University and features real people with real issues and offers real answers. And now, here's your host, Kenneth Anderson.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Second Chance radio broadcast. I'm Kenny Anderson. As always, delighted to be here with you in the studio for the broadcast. We originate right here at Oakwood University, one of my alma maters, and it's always a privilege to be able to have this platform on Sunday afternoon from 2 to 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. We've been doing it ever since November of 1990, and we will continue doing it as long as we have an opportunity and that we're having fun doing what we're doing, because we're all about inspiring people and informing people about a lot of things. We want to recognize those people who are joining us this afternoon. You may be listening on the radio at 90.1 FM. Thank you for joining us today, especially those who are now benefiting from the broadcasting that takes place here, who are part of the 33,000-watt edition that took place last fall. We're so glad that you're able to join us. There are people listening all over the world today at WJOU.org. We thank you for making us part of your day. And also, we've got what I call the bonus cut. You know, got to kind of have that current technology and terminology in order to be able to reach as many people as possible in innovative and creative ways. So if you want to check out the live stream this afternoon, you can hop over to Praise 90.1 FM on Facebook or YouTube. And you can absolutely see the broadcast there. Now, people always tell me, I missed the broadcast. Sorry, I missed the broadcast. I tell people, well, you just didn't see it when we aired it the first time, but it continues to live on Facebook and YouTube. So thank you, everyone, for being a part of our afternoon today. I'm going to go ahead and introduce my first guest because he is sitting there and ready to roll. Dr. Bryan Samuel is Vice President of Access, Connections, and Engagement at the great University of Alabama, Huntsville. He has acquired a broad perspective on public university administration through serving in a variety of different roles. And he is the author of a phenomenal book that I referenced on the broadcast last week, because each week I'm starting to end the broadcast over the last few weeks with a book of the week or book of the month or maybe book of the year, but you probably want to do a little more reading than just a book a year. It's a lot of value in this process, and he's the author of this great book, Finding Myself, A Journey from the Projects to the Ph.D. Dr. Samuel, welcome to the Second Chance platform.
Welcome, my brother. It's always good to spend time with you. I got to say, you all lit up in that New York Yankees outfit there.
You know, I got to rep my team. It's the start of the baseball season, and so I'm pretty excited about it. We had a kind of a rocky spring training with some injuries, but, you know, we got to keep hope alive, and I'm excited about that. So thank you for acknowledging that.
Yeah, if I had known, I'd have got me some Atlanta Braves gear so I could be.
Well, I think I told you once before, that's my adopted team. I love going to see the Braves play, and, of course, I think they got a pretty competitive team again this year. Congratulations on this publication. This has to be, for you, a lot of things. And I want to kind of unpack some of that today as we talk about this book that you have written. I always like to talk to authors about the motivation behind the book. What was it that told you it's time to do this publication?
I wanted to help young people. I really did. You know, many educators and adults in my life told me I'd never amount to anything. Some even my family members at times, right? And I went through a lot just to get into college and to get through to a master's, eventually a PhD. And I said to myself, there got to be hundreds, thousands, perhaps even millions of young people who are out there subscribing to goals and aspirations and maybe not getting the support that they need, or maybe just intrinsically don't believe that they can actually accomplish some of those things. And so I wanted to help folks that are aspiring to accomplish goals. I said young people, but I guess it's aspirants at any level in life, because I was an adult when I finished the PhD. And just know that you can do it, right? You can get through, you can overcome those barriers and hurdles, and you can make it through. So that was my.
What do you hope to accomplish as you kind of talk a little bit about the people that you hope will get a hold of this and can perhaps benefit from this experience, to watch your journey, to learn from your journey, to understand your journey in terms of their ability to move forward in life?
I think, when I reflect on it, and I got to say, it was the most therapeutic thing I've ever done. I mean, just reflecting on those moments, those, in the words of Shakespeare, he wrote, this is something I must fall down or leap, right? I got to either give up or get over. And when I started thinking about all those things and some of those tough times, it was really spiritually cleansing. It was therapeutic. It was a lot of things. Many of my peers and even some educators and mentors and folks who've helped me through on this journey have often asked me, how did I get to this place? How did I keep going when this thing happened or whatnot? And I like to share with folks that I think that's the wrong question. The right question is why? Why did I keep going? Why did I pursue this goal? And if they understand that why, at least in my perception, the most important question in life for an individual, because why gives you purpose, right? Why is the grounding of a passion, right? And why gives you this direction that kind of keeps you going. If you don't have a why, you don't have nothing.
Yeah, and that to me is such an important question for people, and I hope you'll talk a little bit more about that why, because I have gone to workshops where people have talked about the why. I've heard people stand up and give motivational speeches saying, find your why. And when you think about that in the context of actually making it practical for someone, perhaps who has a similar experience as yours, you and I both came from public housing. And I always tell people, the question is not, can anything good come out of public housing? If you ask that question, you're already distorting the understanding of the people who live there. Because although I had two parents in my home, my parents were laborers, they worked hard, they didn't have a lot of money, but they absolutely didn't let us watch a lot of TV. They absolutely kept us connected and engaged with the academic system. They were people of faith. So I didn't think about myself as living in the projects. I didn't think about myself as being in public housing. So when we talk about that why, how do people focus on that? How do they refine that effort to deliver for themselves the why?
Well, for me, it was quite easy, in the Lonsdale housing projects of West Knoxville, Tennessee, a lot of families were on commodities, government cheese, and you know the drill. And I was tired of powdered milk, man. Like, there's got to be something better than, I was tired of the concrete steps that if you mess around and fall, you're gonna break a bone or knock out a tooth or something, or it was just living life low that way. That I was convinced there had to be something better, and there had to be something that I could do to enhance my station in life, and more importantly, be prepared for one day when I have a child and I have a family. Right, I wanted to be a lot better than my father, and just be a good person, a stable person, and able to take care of my family, provide for my kids, and those type of things. And between the poverty and the passion, that's where my why was grounded.
We talk about role models oftentimes, the people that we saw who inspired us in different ways, whether it's a work or career experience, whether it's, somebody who wants to perform in athletics or some other kind of stage in life, whatever that thing might be. Again, I know that both my parents had minimal educations. My dad had an 8th grade education. My mom had a 12th grade education, and yet they clearly understood they wanted something better for their son. They wanted something better for their children. And so they invested in me in ways to show why that was important, whether that was going to the library and making sure I had a library card, whether that was, not spending inordinate amount of times in front of a television. Today, it might be a computer, making sure that there was some value that I was going to internalize that was going to help propel me forward. And I wonder from your perspective, because again, your book is Finding Myself, a journey from the projects to the Ph.D. You got to go through that undergraduate level, that master's level, that Ph.D. level. Talk to me a little bit how you navigated that journey.
Well, it was rough. First of all, I got to, my book is dedicated to my mother. So for years, I would have told you that, those mentors were a professor, classroom at the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga, or a supervisor on the job in some of these different places. But like I said, the writing of the book was quite therapeutic. And it was in the writing of the book that I realized that, the best and greatest mentor I ever had was my mother. I watched her walk, 8 miles one way to cook dinner and walk 8 miles home for $15 for this rich family that lived in Sequoia Hills. I watched her wash dishes every day in the Knox County school system for probably 40 years now. I mean, from the time I was 11 years old up until about 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, she was washing dishes and working in the cafeteria of the school system. So when I get to thinking about who that great mentor was, it's her. I got to start there. Now, getting into college, I tell students all the time, getting through college was the least challenging thing I ever had to do, right? Because I had grown up in the projects, I had survived drive-by, all kind of different crazy things. And I couldn't get into college, though. I made a 12 on the ACT, and every college that I applied to, and there had to be 20 or 30 of them back in those days, did two things. They took my money, my admissions money, my application money, and then they sent me a letter saying, "No, thank you. You're never going to graduate." And so that was the story of my life, right? I always had to apply 2, 3, 4, 5, 12 times just to get an opportunity to pursue some of these different types of programs. But once I got in, I did well, and navigating the college experience. That was new, right? Because people like myself, straight from the projects, right? My father was in penitentiary. My mother finished high school. I'm first generation kid. I'm poor. I don't know the college game, so to speak, right? So I was lucky enough to get connected with other guys that were going through school about the same time, dealing with some of the same issues and things of that nature. I had quite a few what we call old heads, older students, to kind of put me up on the college game, kind of guide. So things worked out.
I'm listening to everything you're saying. It's almost like we could have literally been, co-residents or brothers, because so much of what you're sharing mirrors the experience I had, And one of the things I'm constantly reminded about, and I don't run from this. I don't think I've ever run from it, but I know I talk about it even more now, that I'm not where I am because of some goodness in me. I'm not where I am today because I have some kind of special, when I say special favor in God's side, I believe in God and all that. I believe he does favor, provide favor and things like that, but not because I'm some really special person who made the best decisions in life. No, I ran with a crew that wasn't a group of thugs, but they easily could have brought me down a different pathway because we did some things. I mean, and they were kind of innocent back in the day, but they were stuff that could easily have gotten us in a world of trouble. And I'm sure that there were choices that you had to confront growing up that could have led your life down a different pathway.
Oh, absolutely. You can't grow up in a Lonsdale housing project or Fort Greene, Brooklyn, or you can't grow up in Cabrini Green, Chicago, or Magnolia in Louisiana and some of these other you can't grow up in these kind of places without being confronted with some of these societal ills that plague communities like ours, right? Every day, your cousin or somebody got into a fight, so you got to go fight with them, or else you can't go home. But I'm serious. When I got ready to go to junior high school, we had this guy in the neighborhood. His name was Robert Newton. He was rocked up, muscled, this kind of thing. Real tough guy, still tough to this day. And he set me down and all the other young guys that was going to the middle school, and he said, "Hey man, if one of those guys from the field come over and they stick their finger in your cake and you gonna eat it, what you gonna do, man? You better fight. And if you don't fight, you're gonna have a problem with us when you come home. You understand? And if one of your homeboys get into a fight, you better fight with them. You can't run, because if you run, we gonna beat you up when we get home. You got to stand and fight." And that's just one aspect, right? You had people wanting you to join their team and doing other illegal activities and things of that nature and what have you. And so you got to say no to all of that kind of stuff, man. You got to kind of man up and walk your own path and deal with whatever comes, so to speak. So there was always an opportunity to be in the mix of something that wasn't good for you, But we also had, we had guys like Cortez Underwood. He's no longer with us now, but he would run us off the corners. If you tried to hang out, he'd run you off the corner and tell you go home, go study some homework or something, because they had made their decisions and their path was sealed for them, right? They knew about where they were going to be the rest of their lives, and we still had options and opportunities. And so we had some old heads that would run you off the streets and make you go home, get out there, that kind of stuff, man. Go home, do your schoolwork, that kind of stuff. But yeah, you gotta go through a few things for sure.
Yeah, it's good stuff. I'm talking this afternoon with Dr. Bryan Samuel. He's the Vice President of Access, Connections, and Engagement at the great University of Alabama, Huntsville, an institution that I actually had a chance to spend 2.5 years working at as a student development counselor when I was still in my mental health career, and have maintained great relationships with the folks over there for so many years. Actually worked alongside Dr. Samuel when I was the Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion for the city of Huntsville. And of course, I believe that his talents and gifts, him bringing his talents and gifts to UAH, has been an extraordinary asset for the institution, and I'm appreciative of that. I can't let you get away without asking you about the elephant in the room, which is the DEI question. And really what I want to ask you about is that, there's no question that some of the things that people have stood on for so long are under attack, that there's a lot of transition that has also impacted our university settings and more. I wonder generally what your thoughts are about what the current status is, the current landscape, and then what do you think about how we move forward as certain types of opposition to these things that have been ingrained in our society, whether they're human rights, civil rights, and more. Where do we go from here?
Well, speaking as a individual citizen and not an employee of the university, I think much of these United States has had long and historic experience with the moving of the goalposts, if I can say it that way, right? Doing things a little differently for whatever reason there may be. And so I hate to say it, but we have to figure out how to be at a better place of preparing young people on the importance of education and why they need these 3.5 grade point averages and hit the 30 on the ACT and do some of these kind of things so that, something like uh, a scholarship requirement that may want you to come up in a certain neighborhood or graduate from a certain high school or something like that won't be detrimental to you, so that you can, go to a school of your choice, get the scholarship that you are eligible for, interested in, and go on and do the kind of thing that's important to you. That's the future for American higher education, at least the foreseeable future for American higher education. And it is now critically important, more than it has ever been, that all young students understand that. We will be moving away from, when I say we, I mean higher ed in general, and certainly across the Southeast, we'll be moving away from some of those things that have made more accessible for students that didn't necessarily have that grade point, that didn't necessarily have that score, or some of those other kind of criteria. So we're going to have to figure out how to help more young people get to those grades and get to those test scores that will be utilized in making decisions about not only who get in, but who get what scholarship support.
I love your context in terms of putting education at the center. And I like to say two things. I like to say, first of all, education by any means necessary. So it's like whatever it takes to get those young people across the line, or those people who are in transition, that non-traditional student that you guys see some of in the flow of students that you have at UAH, and of course our community college system, people changing careers, people who are in current transition because of lots of things that are going on, looking for opportunities in education, so important. But I also define this as a village moment, because I'm always trying to talk about things in ways that empower as opposed to disempower. Of course, I do not deny anything that might be happening, but if I succumb to the pressure, the paralysis of those things, then I fail to move forward. And I think of this as a village moment, because I think there are people who see that and understand that, and they're going to stand by people's side. They're going to elevate their voices. They're going to come together in creative and innovative ways to be able to push that needle forward, so that as many young people and as many people who engage in the education system can benefit from that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Let me ask you this as we get ready to wrap up this conversation. It's been so wonderful. I'm talking with this book is good, Dr. Bryan Samuel. And notice I'm not saying a whole lot about the book per se, because I need you to read the book. Here's the book right here. I need you to go out and check that book out. I need you to read it. It's called Finding Myself, A Journey from the Projects to the Ph.D. And we're talking about his personal journey and where that has landed him in terms of the educational space today, and the academic challenges that he had, some of the social challenges that he had in order to be able to press through those things. I want to ask you about the value of extracurricular activities and the, I think, essential quality of that to a student's development.
I think it is, critically important. We can always continue to learn, and there's no better way to learn than through experiential learning, activity learning, activity-based, meaningfully engaged learning, whether it's support and engage in some kind of social program, what have you, or doing some research with a faculty member, or on some type of team activity or what have you. I think it's critically important. I think it prepares you for not only doing well and succeeding in college, but certainly giving you a bit of a head start for when you go out into the greater workforce, and you can contribute as a meaningful part of and a valued part of a team. So yeah, the more community service, the more service learning, the more study abroad and other type of activities a young person can get into. I think that enriches what they bring to the organization.
If I knew then what I know now, how would you respond to that?
Wow. If I knew then what I know now, oh man, I could probably write a book on that. If I knew then what I know now, I probably would have been a little more serious in high school. You know, I did just enough to get by, and as it turns out, I think one of the best things I ever did in the state of Tennessee back in '88, you had to take a foreign language, or you didn't have to take a foreign language, but they recommended that you had to have one credit of foreign language, and to get into college in Tennessee, you had to have 2 credits of the same foreign language. So it just so happens that I took Spanish, and I took 2 years of it, and that kind of got me. But if I had known then what I know now, I would have been a lot more serious in high school in preparing myself for the future. You know, young people don't know that you can't wake up 25, 30 years down the road and then just do something, right? Everything you will be able to do is grounded in what you did 10, 15 years ago. You know, I once had a conversation with a student at Kansas State University when I was there. And he asked me, what did I do for a living? And he wanted to be like me or something. And he saw me one time, and he saw me, you know, I had on my suit and tie like I normally do. And I was walking to my car and everything. Looked at me and like, hey, what do you do? I want to do what you do. And I stopped him and I said, young man, what you see today is 30 years making. You know, you didn't see me when I was washing dishes at Shoney's. You see this nice automobile. You didn't see the first one I had. It cost me $750, and it had a hole in the floor. You could see the little white lines driving down the street. You know, I mean, it was just a notch above Freddie Flintstone himself. It was old. You know, my wife hated that car. But roll with it. So she hated that car. But you see 30 years in the making, and what you do today will propel you or prepare you for what you're able to do, 30 years down the road. And if I had known that 30, 40 years ago, man, ain't no telling where I'd be now.
Wow. Powerful reflection indeed. Finding myself, a journey from the projects to the PhD, Dr. Bryan Samuel. There it is. Dr. Samuel, how would people get a hold of this awesome gem right here?
Thank you. Thank you so much. I have a website that tells a little bit about my background experience, some of the speaking engagements, things I've done over the years, what have you. And you can also get a copy of the book at findingmyself.com.
Findingmyself.com.
Yeah.
We'll make sure we put that in the chat box so that people can take advantage of that. Of course, we're going to post that on our Second Chance page. It'll be on the Praise 90.1 FM page. And folks, do yourself a favor. This is the book. Like I said, each week I've got a book to recommend. This was my recommendation last week, so I actually have another book at the end of the show today. But you're going to get a bonus cut because this is 2 for the price of 1. And this is a great read, folks, because anytime that somebody allows us to connect with their journey in a very transparent way, to let us know that the journey you're on right now may be vastly different from theirs, but we all have a journey, and there's always a way to navigate that journey that we can learn from. It's a good time. So Finding Myself, a journey from the projects to the PhD, Dr. Bryan Samuel. Doc, always good to see you, man. I got to get together for lunch soon. This retirement life is killing me, man, because I can't get out the house.
Yeah, bro. Hey,
not even to have lunch with people, man.
Whatever you do, don't fail retirement, right?
Right.
Yeah,
you got that right.
Let's on the calendar. We'll get over to G's and go to our normal watering hole and get us something good to eat.
Man, that sounds great. Great to talk to you today, Dr. Samuel. Take care, man.
Thank you. Have a good one.
All right. Great way to start our show today, folks. Dr. Bryan Samuel over at UAH there, the Vice President of Access, Connections, and Engagement. Of course, always a great opportunity to talk to him and to be able to share information on a variety of things. We're just going to keep the show rolling this afternoon because I got a couple of guests right now that, I tell you, between managers and agents and publicity people, you got to work your way through these things and try to get them scheduled and booked because they're busy and they're constantly moving about and they're taking care of so many great things that, I want to take full advantage of this opportunity. I normally do a transitional song in between segments. Forget the song today. I got the guests, folks. They're right here in the studio right now. I've been dying to have this conversation ever since Armand's agent, his mom, told me that. And Armand, man, look, it's low-hanging fruit because she was like, hey, this is mommy stuff. You should have him on your show. I said, you kidding me? I mean, Armand would take my show to another level, man. So I reached out to you, and here we are today. Armand Hutton is the founder, CEO of Hutton Records. He's a bass singer with Juice Sommelier. Did I say that correctly?
I don't know what that is. I'm just a bass singer just for myself.
This was. Well, I won't. I mean,
in the bio somewhere.
No, it's something that I got. But anyway. Former bass singer with Naturally 7, and of course, one of my favorite groups in the whole wide world. Those guys are something else. And just honored to have you here today, Armand. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me. I'm happy to see my brother down there, my little brother Jeremy. We were texting a few minutes ago, and he was like, "You gonna be on?" I said, "Yeah." "Oh, this is gonna be great."
Well, that's great, too, because the last time his real little brother was here, and we had a great conversation that I was looking forward to for a long time. In fact, I had Jeremy on, but he had no idea that his brother was going to be on, and we just had a wonderful opportunity. I have no surprises today. This is actually the surprise because I have both of you. Jeremy Jordan is here, Director of Choral Affairs at Oakwood University, and it's just so good to see both of you. Jeremy, how you doing this afternoon?
No, I'm doing all right. Enjoying the warmer weather, and Huntsville is a little interesting. It'll get warm and then cold, but I enjoy the change.
Yeah, we just kind of roll with the transition, whatever it kind of brings us. It brings us. This past winter was kind of interesting because I think we got snow a couple of times. That was a little unusual. It got cold for a minute, but then once the cold snap broke, it was kind of like, maybe 40s, 50s, and then, that kind of thing. So it's kind of a mild winter compared to some other places that people might live. I always like to say to people, I've been to Berrien Springs, Michigan in the winter, and that's something I'll never do again. So God bless anybody that wants that. Yeah. I certainly don't.
That's rough.
It is. It absolutely is. Resist.
Yeah.
What a powerful project.
Thanks so much.
Tell us about it, Armand.
So, you always think in your own sphere when you see everything that's going on outside of your bubble. How can I make an impact? How can I make a change? What can I do? And I'm in the very, very beginning stages of doing 100 arrangements, 100 songs, and releasing them within the course of the next 8 to 10 years. And I was going to start in July. I was going to start putting things out. But the very first song that came to my head was this. And sometimes, you get these things and you assume that it's the Holy Spirit or, it's not necessarily coming from your own ego. So I'm hoping that this was definitely from the Holy Spirit, and he put on my heart to say, you have to address some of the things that's been in your head. You're not on CNN, you're not on all the major news networks, but you still have an opinion, and you have a way in which you can say and address certain things. So Resist was born out of frustration. It was born out of me just saying, some of these things lyrically are obvious, but yet we're not talking about them. How can I present them in a musical way, in a clever way, to say, look, I'm not necessarily pointing at one individual that we need to resist. I'm pointing at the fact that we have been on a path of resistance for a long time. And really ever since sin was introduced, we have been on a path of resistance. And I feel like sometimes we get a little too, a little too soft on the fact that this is what our calling is to do. As Christians, we are called to resist some of the norms that have been presented to us. And So that's what this was. I wanted a shanty, meaning verse, chorus, verse, chorus, verse, chorus, to get some of these things out. I didn't necessarily want it to be overly deep on a musical level. I had something to say, and I wanted to, even if, to answer your question the longest way possible, even if it wasn't necessarily all this is, oh man, this is what needs to be said. I wanted to present it in a way that empowered other people to say the things that they feel needed to be said and to resist in their own capacity. So that's where it came from.
This, for me, Armand, is really the beauty of music and what music has represented to so many people for so long. My absolute favorite song of all time is What's Going On. We have a segment on this show called What's Going On. My favorite artist of all time is Marvin Gaye. My favorite album of all time is What's Going On.
Wow.
Because it's such a powerful message. In fact, I say he was a prophet. It's a very righteous album. And I think sometimes we dismiss the music because of certain elements that we may either not like or feel comfortable with. And I think it's just fascinating that you said what you said just now, because I think that is the magic and the beauty of what music provides for us.
Definitely.
A creative source to channel energy to be able to express ourselves in creative and innovative ways. Am I on point there with that?
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. And that's what I wanted it to be. I wasn't necessarily looking for this to be a song where it went viral and millions of people around the world heard it. If that happened, that's great. But if I could spark one individual to get to work, if I could spark one or two individuals to say, oh, I need to go back to my corporation and I need to do this, or I need to plan this event, or I need to write this essay, all for the sake of freeing other people, because that's all resistance is I am going to not do something or do something so that other people cannot do something or do something. We're freeing people through our resistance. And that's what I wanted this song to do on an individual level, which is why I went down to Huntsville, and which is why I talked to Jeremy and said, yo, what can I get some kids on, can I get some students on this? I went down there because there was a sound that he's perfected with this group, and there's something that the students have down at Oakwood, and I needed that energy on the song. So that was not to segue or anything, but since he's here, I don't know if I've even told him that what he's taught the students and what he's allowed them to do and to think was exactly why I wanted to. If you listen to the song, I'm singing a lot of the parts. But there's a certain section there where it just gets bigger than me, and that is the essence and idea of the whole thing. Is bigger than one individual. I can sing all the parts, and do whatever, but there were even ranges where I'm like, okay, I can't sing that now. I can't do that. I need others, and the others that I wanted to use were students who are hungry and ready to indeed resist.
Even in what you're saying now, the whole notion of needing others in a moment of opportunity, a moment of being challenged, that the effort, the work is never contained to one person. We're only going to be as successful as we can be with what we have, but when we allow that groundswell to become a part of our experience, then other people are impacted by that. Jeremy, I don't know if that was the first time you heard that, but, I'm always fascinated and always so supportive of just, what you've invested in music for so many years, as well as the work that you've invested, and I probably should more say ministry that you've invested in your working with the Aeolians and the music initiatives, other music initiatives at Oakwood. But talk to me a little bit about what it meant for you once you heard about this project and how you began defining it in terms of student involvement.
Right. So the first thing I want to do is really thank Armand, and I've done this, to him personally, but I want everybody else to hear this as well too. Armand is a champion of others, and he talked about just how this was something that was bigger than himself, and wanting to bring other people involved, to involve other people in this. And I just really appreciate, one, how he has mentored me, but also the students as well, and the work that he does to to engage them and the work that he does to mentor them and to do things for them. Armand is a bad man. He's done a lot of stuff, and it's very busy. And but he still takes the time to pour into those students, into those individuals. So when he told me about this and that he wanted to use the students for it, I was very happy for it. And it wasn't the entire Aeolians; it was a smaller group of students who were able to go and to be a part of this. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, Armand, but I think you paid them as well too.
And that's why I didn't use the only reason why I didn't use the Aeolians and credit them. Which, we had this discussion on credits and the whole thing going back, and then I ended up not using the actual choir because I wanted them to experience what it was like to be on a paid session, a paid vocal session where they could come and they could have somebody who contracted them and say, okay, we need you at this time, and it's kind of outside of the brand of the Aeolians. If you're not there at a certain time for the class, you will get docked in some capacity. If you're not there to show up. But now I'm like, okay, can you show up as a paid session singer? And I thought that was very important to give them that opportunity. So I couldn't afford to pay the entire choir. I could only afford a small number. But we got it done. So sorry to cut you off, bro. But that's why I didn't get the entire Aeolians choir. I wanted some students to understand what it felt like to be in a session, to be in a paid session, you know what I mean?
Guys, look, this is rich. I mean, everything y'all have dropped so far is rich. There's so many nuggets that you all have placed in our hands at this moment. I know there are going to be a few more before we end this conversation, but as I'm listening to you both kind of go back and forth about this whole notion of why it was important to place students in a mindset that their gifts can be honored, is an important element that's not always acknowledged. It's not always recognized. It's not always experienced. So kudos and shout out to you, Armand, for doing that. And I know that probably comes from your experience in the profession and your many years in the industry and having seen a lot and experienced a lot. But again, that was a critical element, and I'm hoping that those young people will see this moment as a pivotal point in their life, whether they take music forward or not.
Exactly.
But that they understand this from the perspective of their own personal career development.
Exactly.
Would you agree with that?
Most definitely. And I told Jeremy about the session. I had him stop by, and also had Dr. Foster stop by, who was my vocal coach when I was a student, and who is now the chair of the music department. And I wanted both of them to stop by so that they could see the fruits of their labor. When both of them walked in the room, we were working. We were in the middle of a session, but those students rallied around them. They wanted them to see what they were doing. When you have individuals who are proud to show you their work, that means you've poured into their lives. So I wanted them there to see, okay, this is outside of the school setting. This is now what we're calling a professional setting. And look how well they can handle themselves. Look how well they can operate and come through and give me exactly what I needed on a production side. And one of the students said, when we were singing, after we finished the session, she said, so do people do this in terms of, do they come and sing and get paid? I'm like, yes, there are people who do session work all day, and that's their livelihood. And so I wanted them to see that the things that they're learning can be applied in a real life setting and in a situation where other people from outside of our bubble want what they have now, and not necessarily want what they have upon graduation or 5 years out of the school. What the students are doing right now, what Jeremy and Dr. Foster and others who have poured into them have them doing right now, the world is starving for. And I think that we experienced that in a very, very small level with the Kendrick Lamar stuff. And in terms of, like, we didn't know that sound was going to be used. We didn't know what it was going to be. And then fast forward months later, we hear that Oakwood University Aeolians at the halftime of the Super Bowl in a prominent position. So what you have now, the world is thirsty for. And instead of trying to micromanage and keep everything in a microcosm or in a bubble, let the students explore their own gifting that God has given them. And let's trust that God is going to keep them on the path that they need to be, as opposed to putting blinders on them and forcing them to go certain places. Let's expose them let's allow them to see what's out there and to let God be the one who guides them.
So about 4 people missed the halftime show. And so we want to speak to those 4 people right now. Make sure people know the backstory of that. And were you watching at the time? Did you know it was going to happen at the time? Give me the backstory on that.
So I'll kind of speak on that. So let's go back a little bit to the beginning. We had the opportunity, one of our many wonderful collaborations with Armand, he did an arrangement for us. And I'll just kind of talk about that arrangement too for a little bit and just try to be brief. But we started this segment called Sample Sunday, the Aeolians, where we do about 60 to 90 seconds worth of music of a popular piece. Something that just people love, that they like to listen to throughout the years. So Kenny, we might do What's Going On one day, and for you, I love Marvin Gaye as well. But I asked Armand to do an arrangement. Somebody had reached out and they were a part of this cartoon show, The Fairly Odd Parents. And it's like, hey, would you all ever think about doing an arrangement of this? And so I reached out and I asked Armand, I said, what do you think about it? He did the arrangement and it went viral. I think that's across all social media platforms, that might be our most viral video. And it's crazy because I didn't expect that to happen, but like 10 plus million views across different platforms. Fast forward, I think like November something, Armand shoots me a text. He's like, hey bro, listen to this. And it's Kendrick Lamar's album. And so I was like, okay, I'll listen to it. I'm not a big rap person, but it's like, I'll check it out. And so I played it, and like the very first thing I heard, like, wait a minute. And I played it again, and I was like, is this us? I texted him back, it's like, this us? And it was the Aeolians. And so pretty much Kendrick and the producers who were involved in that record and that particular song had sampled what the Aeolians did, just something that we used for social media to have fun, and ended up being the very first thing that you heard for Kendrick Lamar's Super Bowl halftime show.
Wow.
And when it went viral, Jeremy would have to send me the numbers and the comments and stuff, because I wasn't seeing all that. I just did the arrangement and I knew that they were going to, blow it out the water and do what they did. But I saw very little of the virality of it all. And so when it blew up, I was just as surprised and shocked as everyone else. And then when we heard Jeremy's already gotten some emails saying, how dare you work with Kendrick Lamar? It's like, well, we didn't know. I'm trying to tell y'all, we didn't know this was going to happen. This wasn't something that happened on purpose. But like I said, you never know, where God is going to take stuff. And we always assume that if it's outside of our 4 walls of the church, then it wasn't his doing. But that's not necessarily, it's very possible that he had someone stumble upon this and to take it in the exact way that they did without our permission, so that we could be a witness in the getting the credit, or be a witness in who knows why he allowed for it to happen. But when you give your stuff back to him, he can take it and do crazy things. The Aeolians, I think this is the first time probably in history, the Aeolians started the halftime show of the Super Bowl, at the Super Bowl. I've never heard anybody else say that before. So I think that's incredible.
That's about as big as it gets, because of course we know that his halftime show is viewed by more people than any other halftime show.
That's right.
And of course we've had multiple conversations on this show about the richness of the subtle conversations that were had in that process as well. Very powerful moment, very powerful experience, and a very lasting thing. Jeremy, I wanted to ask you, because I'm sure this is very similar to what we oftentimes think about professional coaches in sports. We want them to not just have great athletes on the field, but we also want them to instill in their students a sense of responsibility for being able to graduate, to be able to do well in school, to be able to get along with other people. And so much of what you do with choral activities at Oakwood, transcends the fact that some of the best voices in the world come through that journey. And that's been the case for so many years now. I had a roommate when I was at Oakwood, 50 years ago. It's been a long time, who was an Aeolian. And my Aeolian legacy goes back far, and it even goes back further than that because of some of the music that was being produced at that time. I've always had such great respect for that and the music that's been performed, but I also know, because I know you, that it is probably more important that for them, being good people, good citizens, productive students, is probably even more important than having a great voice. Your thoughts about that?
Absolutely. And like I tell the students, and my goal and just my personal, job that I've set for myself is to make sure that they are well-rounded individuals. I want to, through music, right? My job is to connect people and to touch others. And God has given me the gift of music to be able to do that. Right. I think that's ultimately what we're supposed to do, to love on others, to spread his gospel, to spread his word. And he gives us different gifts and talents to do that. Right. So mine is music that he's given me. But through that, I want them to learn about discipline. I'm teaching them how to overcome challenges and hurdles. I'm working to develop the entire person and not just their musical skills, so that they are able to be prepared to go out into the world and to be able to be successful in any setting that they're in, to be able to be productive in any field that they may be able to that they choose to go into after they graduate. That's what individuals did for me. And, I'm just returning that favor and just doing that for others, and just something that I was brought up to do. I really encourage the students to believe in their gifts, believe in their talents, because they are important. And I do think that even now they have a voice. I was talking with the group last week, I believe it was, and, just talking with them and letting them know, like, there are a lot of movements that have just shifted society in this world that were led by young people. Right. Just a certain couple of events that come to mind. You have the walkouts in East LA in the 1960s when the Latino students were protesting against, the conditions that they had in school. Right. We look at the Little Rock Nine, even though it wasn't necessarily their decision to integrate schools, right, because they didn't have that power to do so, but they had the decision and the power to be able to say yes or no. Right. So for them to be able to stand up in the face of just hatred and to do something that was very scary. We talked about the counter sit-ins, right? The lunch counter, the diner counter sit-ins, and how a lot of those individuals were students. Even Martin Luther King, who a lot of people recognize and celebrate for his works and the acts and the things that he did. He died, which is coming up on his anniversary, right, April 4th. But he died at 38 years old. This was a young man in 1968. And so then you can go back and think about, Martin Luther King was doing stuff in 1960, when he was 30. And then and you can go back and think about those things. And even Jesus Christ, right? Yeah. Which we're all striving to be like. But, his ministry and life ended when he was 33 years old. And so I constantly just let them know that, you have the ability to be world changers, here. And there's no pressure in that. It's not trying to scare them or be like you have to live up to these gaudy expectations, but just to be who you are, just to be yourself, and that's enough to change the world. So that's what I'm interested in with helping the students. Not just, we got to keep the main thing. That's what LeBron says, and I like that. LeBron, if he wasn't a good basketball player, he couldn't do the I Promise School, maybe, but though him being a good ball player leads to those other things. Yes, we are a choir. We have to we want to be good, in that. but there are other things that we can contribute to society as well. And so that's just something that's very important to me.
I'm going to play the song in just a moment, and I want people to know before we do that I'm talking this afternoon with Armand Hutton. He is the CEO and founder of Hutton Records. I'm also talking with Jeremy Jordan. He's the director of choral activities at the great Oakwood University. And I'm just so delighted to hear them share what they're sharing this afternoon. Armand, before I play the song, I wonder if you just give us a short promo introduction, just let people know what they're going to hear.
Resist is a movement, and it's a movement that is timeless. We've needed to resist from the time that Black people were brought over to this country to today. We need to resist not just what's going on in Washington, D.C., but any sort of thing that mirrors supremacy. And so it's a personal cry to those who listen to wake up to what's going on around you, and to do something within your sphere to not only resist, but to encourage and influence others to do the same thing.
And where can people find it?
It is everywhere that you would possibly listen to music digitally. Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, all those places, YouTube. You can download it, you can listen to it, and you can share it that way as well.
Ladies and gentlemen, Resist.
You sleeping child, and evil lurks at our door to rid this land of the true and wild, and all who bows not before him. Wake up, ye people of the land, awake to an old tragedy. A terror birthed by our own demands has unearthed while we were yet sleeping. Resist, for we are up against the spirit of the first and sixth, when rebels of freedom had Lucifer lead them to war. Fear not, my friend, they showed their hand. Division is the battle plan. The power is with us when we fight as one. We'll beat the devil and his sons. The righteous cause to purge a land of which they haven't a claim. With gun and Bible in their hands, they're thrilled to kill in Jesus' name. Their laws are built on greed and lust. They worship only the whole. It's in this God whom they really trust, and telleth us plain on the dollar. Resist, for we are up against the spirit of the first and sixth, when rebels of freedom had Lucifer lead them to war. Fear not, my friend, they showed their hand. Division is the battle plan. The power is with us when we fight as one. We'll beat the devil and his sons. Withheld from their health and care will only be driven so far. They'll fight for their rights and for what is fair, and willingly choose to be martyrs. They'll finally see through the lies and schemes that's kept them afraid and apart. Though bodies be in their minds are free to burn it all down and restart it. For we are up against the spirit of the first and sixth, when rebels of freedom had Lucifer lead them to war. Fear not, my friend, they showed their hand. Division is the battle plan. The power is with us when we fight as one. wake up, my listening friend. You've heard, now please don't ignore. The devil is here, but he fears the end. To resist him, we must declare war.
Why do we say praise 90.1 FM? Because the blessing is in the praise. Filling your day with songs of praise on Praise 90.1 FM.
Transforming lives.
You're listening to Second Chance with Kenneth Anderson.
Welcome back to the broadcast. I hope that you're enjoying our show today. Wow, what a powerful segment with Armand Hutton, the founder and CEO of Hutton Records, and Jeremy Jordan, who is the Director of Choral Affairs at the great Oakwood University. We, of course, love everything that they had to share and hope that you enjoyed the song Resist, and that you'll look to find that somewhere where music is heard everywhere. My next guests are Lorenzo and Sarha Wright of the Right Way 360. They're high school sweethearts who've been married for, and I know I haven't updated this, is it more than 26 years now?
Yes. We're 29.
We're 29.
29. Okay, I'll make that observation and correction and adjustment. 29 years, they have 4 children. I think that's still the same, though.
Yes.
An IT professional and teacher by trade, they are now serial entrepreneurs who own several businesses and manage a 7-figure portfolio of real estate. They also help families and individuals learn wealth building skills and passive income methods, that solid money that just keeps dropping into your bank account. Through their social media platform, the Right Way 360 Wealth Group. Their slogan is money while you sleep. My slogan is more money, more money, more money. And I know I'm borrowing that from somebody, but anyway it comes, let it rain. Lorenzo and Sarha, how are you doing today, my friends?
I am doing well.
Great,
Thank you for asking everything is going well.
Yes.
So we're super excited with everything that's happening. We're so busy, but we're happy.
Yes,
We're happy.
absolutely.
Well, look, I know you're excited today, but guess what? You're going to be even more excited in just a few days. This is March the 30th, so the countdown is official. You're going to be excited, even more excited in just a few days, because the 2025 360 Wealth Money Talks Roundtable is about to go down. You guys have joined us on a number of occasions in the past talking about how you're trying to just create a little conversation in people's minds and hearts about financial literacy and give them some grounding to stand on. But you have shifted the focus this year to the academic institution, which is where so much of this needs to start, or at least continue if the seeds have been planted early. First of all, congratulations on this happening this year. Congratulations on a hugely successful event last year. And what we want to do today is build a bridge of anticipation and excitement for people in the last few days before this event goes down. Talk to us a little bit about the last year event, kind of summarize it, give us a high-level overview, and then what moved you in the direction that you're landing in this year on the academic institution?
So last year's event was epic. I mean, it went worldwide. I mean, when you think about what we were after, we wanted to kind of give folks a little bit of a taste of what it's like to change your financial outlook by giving you some information. And we brought in speakers from all over the country to talk about various aspects of financial literacy, whether it be insurance, taxes, estate planning, etc. And each one of these, what we like to call servant leaders, were leaning into the information that people are missing. When you see folks kind of, breeze over social media, they're getting bits and pieces, but they never get the whole picture. And then for those who don't get that, you got your information from, past history with the family and how you keep everything in a sock drawer, etc. We basically took back the veil on that. And we had folks come out and actually give the information you need to change what you're doing. So that event, we expected to have maybe a couple hundred people show up. We were excited about that. Maybe some social media outlets, give it some attention. But we were blown away because after the event, our manager did the numbers, went out, got the tabulation together and verified. We broke 11 million views worldwide. And for us, we broke into tears because it was phenomenal. We broke into tears. We never expected that. We didn't think that would occur. And, like your previous guest talked about, when you move with God and you leave it in his hands, it just blows you away. It blows you away.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that too. You connected the conversation we had just now with what you're saying in terms of the impact, because again, when you're moving forward in God's will, it's not about the number of people who show up. It's about the quality of the effort and your obedience to the call. God's going to do the rest. And so if you had stepped in there and said, man, our goal today is at least 500,000 people, 1 million people, you're shifting the burden and the responsibility for the success to yourself rather than leaning fully into what God has for you. And so it is so nice to know that after y'all came off of that high experience, it got even higher when you looked at the numbers and said, oh, my God, God is real. Yes. He showed up today and he impacted people. And I know there must be times when you all kind of think, even though you may not know, and I know you've gotten communication from people from different places, but you may not know all of the impact, but you got to have some sense of satisfaction knowing that God was moving in that process and he's likely still moving as a consequence of that experience.
Absolutely. Listen, I am God first, family, and then everything else. So when that happened, it was like, oh my goodness, we are going in the right direction. Because if you're going in the right direction, he allows all those things to happen. And then you also get that little negative, people that's talking, the naysayers, that definitely saying you're going in the right direction.
You're talking about the noise makers.
Yes, anointing. Yes. This year's going to be even bigger. Okay. And we are ready for this year. I'm still excited. Listen, I've been excited all week because all the stuff are coming in for the event, the swag bag and all the good stuff that we're preparing for our students. It's going to be an amazing event. I can't wait. Y'all better not miss it. Don't miss it.
Well, listen, we're going to give people a chance to make sure they don't miss it in a little while. I wanted to draw on something you just said, though, Sarha, because I know that what you're sharing right now is just so valuable. I don't want people to miss it. There's a certain kind of enthusiasm that comes with being in spaces where you're going to receive information that will empower you as opposed to disempower you and discourage you and affirm what you believe may be defeat in your life. And that when people step into this space of the 360 mindset, it's not all about making money, even though we understand the value of money. Les Brown said money's not everything, but it's right up there with oxygen. I don't pay my mortgage with oxygen. And if I told the mortgager that, well, I got a little oxygen over here for you, they look at me like I'm crazy. They're like, no, where's that check? Right. And it got me for about, 25, 30 years. But anyway, that's another story. I digress.
We understand. That's why we're here. That's why we're here.
I digress. But the thing I'm saying is this whole notion of value by coming into this space. Would you talk a little bit more? And I'm not talking to the naysayers. I'm talking to those who are hanging on to the fence. They see it everywhere, but they haven't jumped in yet. They're wondering if this is something that I should be a part of. They're wondering if this is a legitimate kind of thing. They're wondering if I can really benefit from this experience that they're being a part of? Talk to those people that may be on the fence right now and don't know if they want to jump in yet.
Right. So I'm glad you said it that way, Kenny, because it is about value, and it isn't just about the money, but the understanding and the mindset that you gain of better understanding your situation. I'll give you an example. To sit down with some of these professionals, in most cases, let's say a lawyer. You sit down with a lawyer or a tax accountant or a tax professional, appraiser, somebody that is going to be helping you financially in some fashion or form. It could be upwards of $175 an hour to sit down with these professionals. And anybody who's tried to sit down with them knows I'm telling the truth. We're going to have at least a dozen of these professionals in various disciplines of finance that are going to be there giving you the exact information you need, not hearsay, not maybe this might work, maybe that might work. No, they're going to be giving you the exact information you're going to need to know whether, like, for example, your primary mortgage insurance. A lot of people have PMI. A lot of people don't know that after the first year of paying your PMI, that could be $150 a month that you're putting on top of your mortgage. After your first year, you can get rid of your PMI by calling your mortgage company and telling them, hey, you want to take this off? I've been making my payments. I'm good. But you would have never known that if you've never been exposed to it. So if you tack on, like you said, the 25 to 30 years you're paying on your mortgage and you've got that PMI on there, $150 a month times 20 years is a lot of money. That's a couple of vacations to Jamaica and Aruba, a new car, you know, a lot of different
investment properties.
Yeah.
More money while you sleep.
Right. More money to invest while you sleep so that you can retire sooner. But that's the type of information that you get when you come to the money talks. There are individuals in the community, and I'm not going to share their exact details, but they're still benefiting financially to this day. And just being in the room, understand that this is going to be benefiting A&M University students. Just being in the room is going to be assisting these students with your presence, because this year is backed by Amazon. And that is allowing us to be able to provide scholarships to these students. I mean, that in and of itself, if you remember being a broke college student, you know, $50, $100, those type of things, though, that went a long way. And I'll give you an example. Redstone Federal Credit Union is one of our sponsors. They're going to be providing $400 to every student that opens a bank account and holds it for 2 months in good standing. $400. They're going to deposit that into their account. That in and of itself, just for attending the money talks and opening your account there, you're going to get $400 after 2 months.
Wow.
And they're waiving the fees.
They're waiving the fees to
start. So that's very important, because a lot of time when you start any bank account, you have to put a deposit down. They're waiving the fees.
Yes.
So they're waiving the fees. So it's a no deposit. Wow.
No, waive the fees to open the account at the event, and then you hold that account in good standing for 60 days.
Wow.
You're going to automatically deposit $400 into the account. So essentially, these students are getting paid to come to the money talk.
Yeah.
So when we talk about value, there's so much value in it, not just monetarily, but the knowledge that they're going to gain that they're going to be able to use over their lifetime. And it's not just for the students. This is also for parents and other family members who want to attend. This is information for everybody.
Yeah, because really, I mean, what we're talking about, the financial literacy conversation, really is a family matter.
It is.
It is.
And you all have, of course, demonstrated that in your lives, as you have children that are involved in various ways on the financial literacy spectrum, investing and otherwise. In the process, I love the fact that this is the college edition. I mean, you guys have come to the place that this conversation needs to be had as often as possible. In fact, I wish people would pay you once a month to come out and do something like this, because the costs on the other end of those students who perhaps have made bad financial choices and now can't come back to school and can't finish their degrees is a cost negative to the school as a consequence of that, or any institution for that matter, where students might be. So I want to ask you, what was the motivation to ground this in the academic environment this time and bring the college edition of 360 Wealth Money Talks Roundtable?
Okay, so since I'm like in the early childhood education, I noticed even with the younger student that they can learn if as long as you give it to them early, they're able to learn it. And then I'm like, if we catch them before we become adult, like going into the real life, it would be better because there's a lot of things that they won't have to go through that we've gone through. So we're like, okay, we were trying to find the right age gap, and we're like, college student, that's where they are, that's where they start their life, and that's where the debt starts to come in with student loans, with credit cards, because they wait for you as soon as you walk on in college, as soon as you walk on there on campus, sorry, they right, get this credit card, get that credit card, get this credit card, but they didn't teach you that, listen, you got to pay for it. Okay, yes, you got the credit card, but you must pay for it, and then there's interest, and there's so much thing that goes along with having this credit card. So we're like, let's catch them in the college spectrum, and they're going to win, because if we catch them there, I believe they're going to win.
Yeah. I won't say I completely ignored Annie Anderson's model. That's my mom. But, my mom was one of those people who had a credit card, but she just never really used it. And if she used it, she paid it off. And she was really consistent with that kind of thing. And, my mom was the money person in the house. My dad just bought it home. But my mom was the one that really kind of managed stuff. And I watched her for years. And then I went off to college here at Oakwood. And the Sears people came on campus one day. Be real transparent on this. The Sears people came on campus one day, and here I am living 4 years at Oakwood. I lived in a dorm. I didn't even have an apartment, much less my own house. I got a Sears credit card as a junior in college. And that was a big mistake because, I just bought things and ended up, paying for it for a while it's been paid off a long time ago, but it really kind of hurt me for a while because it was unnecessary.
Right.
And that's why I'm so excited. And not to say, a whole lot of people have a whole lot more discipline than me at that time in my life. But that's the kind of temptation, especially when you live in a consumer-driven society where people want things and they want access to things real quickly and easily. And they don't understand. I spent just a short period of time in a debt reduction program helping people get out of debt. Mm-hmm. And I tell this story that the very first day I went to work, a lady came into my office with $50,000 worth of credit card debt. And it was a lady whose husband had passed, and he managed all the finances. And when he passed, she just kind of figured, well, quick and easy way to take care of things. I'll just do it on a credit card.
Right.
Well, before you know it, it's $50,000. And part of the program was, let's get everything you have in one package so that we can get it all worked on at the same time. Do you have anything else? And I promise you, this is a true story. Over the next couple of days, she called me back and she found another $20,000. So this lady had $70,000 worth of credit card debt.
Yeah.
And it was painful because she had to be in her late 50s, early 60s. And I'm thinking, my goodness, people don't know when they open up these accounts and they're so excited to get a $500 credit limit with a 25 or 30% interest rate. They're locked in for about 30, 40 years. They don't know that. And you don't have to read the fine print. You need to understand that these things cost. You guys are awesome for investing in this space for both adults, but now especially for young people in the academic environment. You have a number of people who are going to be presenting. Talk to me a little bit about some of the points of interest that you may want to highlight that people will be able to benefit from.
Right. So right off the bat, we've got a number of different speakers that are going to be talking on different genres when it comes to starting your own business. We're going to teach you how to turn your side hustle into a business, and you'll be able to do that at the Money Talks. Another thing that we're going to be doing is we're talking about the Student Wealth Playbook. And everybody who attends the Money Talks is going to get access to the Student Wealth Playbook. And in it, it has, just like you talked about, how to be credit card responsible, how to handle your bank account, how to budget properly, how to put together multiple different types of budget to work for your lifestyle, because some folks like to tithe, etc. And there's a budget for you. And many folks don't know that there actually are budget strategies that allow you to tithe that is actually built into it. It's not just you tithing. You know what I mean? So those are the type of things that you're going to learn when you're at the Money Talks. We're going to have insurance, life insurance. We're going to be talking about networking.
Hold on 1 second. I gotta stop you for 1 second. And I think we've talked about this before. One of the most painful experiences, and I see it even today, is the GoFundMe account to bury a loved one.
Yeah, painful.
That is painful when I see that.
Yeah.
It is not. It is painful, and in my family, where I come from Caribbean background, I'm Jamaican. It is disrespectful to the elders. Honestly, they when they find that you've done that, it's disrespectful in our family. So I can only speak for myself. But the thing about life insurance, when you hear folks say you can't even, Black folks can't even afford to die, and one of our things for us is we're focusing on Black and brown people because we're in a position where we're losing financially, and that gap is becoming further and further, especially what's going on today. So that's why the Money Talks is so important with that. But folks don't realize that for the price of a glass of soda at the store for $5, $6, $10, you can have life insurance that would start the generational wealth that you need in your family. When people think generational wealth, they're thinking, oh, I've got to put away $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000. No, you don't. The first thing you can do is just keep your family from going into debt, burying you. If I don't start off with that debt, or I don't have to incur that debt, or we don't have to do a bake sale, or GoFundMe, or the family go into ultimate turmoil because you pass on and left nothing to them, so now everybody's fighting, we can start to change the conversation. So that's again why we're so passionate about what we do, but more so why we bring in these servant leaders to the Money Talks so that they can speak on those specific topics and be able to get rid of those gray areas of those witch hunt type of thought process that if you just do this, you'll be okay. No, this is exactly what you need to do. 1, 2, 3, 4.
And then there's another thing. I saw something on social media. This guy, they were asking, I forgot what was the question, but he was like, if most of us actually do have life insurance, unlawful death will no longer be.
Would reduce
because the insurance companies they don't want to pay out. The insurance company is going to ask for, how did this happen? So, and I thought that was profound when he said that, because I had to think about it. I'm going, whoa, what? That does make sense. So if you don't want to do it for that financial wealth, then do it for self-preservation. Right.
Yeah.
But like I said, there's so much that is going to be happening. We're going to have workshops. Like I said, that's going to teach you networking. We're going to have giveaways. We're going to have Mill Music, who's going to be performing live. We've got Dre Labor Day, who's going to be an MC. Latoya Whitfield, who's going to be our co-host. So,
Dr. Cynthia
Vito, who's going to be talking about, she's going to be a co-host as well. So like I said, there's going to be something there for everyone, no matter where you are in your walk of life, in your financial journey, there's going to be something there for you.
And how do this is of course not your responsibility, but I know this is something that you hope all of the presenters and people that will be engaging in this space will be able to do. How do you walk away from such an amazing experience and keep people inspired and motivated to keep doing it? Sometimes we go to things and it's like, oh, there's my answer. You're all fired up, excited. You go back and about a week later, you're kind of slipping off the cliff again, or maybe a month later, you're slipping off the cliff again. What do you say to people generally? And you guys do this all the time anyway. How do you keep people focused on the goal? Because that has to be part of this too, because it's not going to, things like this don't suggest that things are going to get smooth as you move forward. In fact, they may even get more challenging before they get better. So how do you keep people engaged and motivated in focusing on what this could lead to for their lives?
Usually we sit with them and find out what is their goals and what is their why. So every time they start falling, off the wagon, we're like, remember your why. Remember your why. There's a reason why you're here. You matter, and you're doing this for whatever your why was. So we constantly kind of do those meetings a lot, or check on people. Sometimes people don't realize just checking on someone makes a big difference. You can tell someone is going through something without them saying anything. You check on them and say, hey, I notice you're not posting anymore. Are you okay? Do you need anything? And that they're like, no, whatever. And then you have that conversation, and they'll start posting again because you checked on them and you notice that they weren't posting or they weren't doing what the job that they were supposed to be doing. So you have to have accountable partners.
And accountability
and that's it right there. The
Yeah.
accountability partners. And that's the Right Way 360. We are accountability partners. And once you go through something like the money talks, like we did last year, a lot of the folks that went to the money talks, they still reach out to us today. Why? Because we have the Right Way 360 Wealth Group on Facebook. We also have the Healthy Wealthy Habits, where we're partnered with Joe Martin,
United Way,
and United Way, and we talk about everything health and wealth. Because if you have the money, if you build up the money, but you don't have the health to maintain it, you can't go out and enjoy it if you're bedridden because you're sick. So we partner with Joe Martin and Relentless Positivity Fitness, tongue twister, and we talk to folks about how to get your mind right, and your pocket right, but how to get your body to match. So those are the accountability type structures that we put in place. So if you want to tap in, we absolutely are here to help.
Yeah, I love everything that you guys are saying. I want to go.
So we want you to be there. Come on.
Welcome. This is your official invite.
Right.
All right. Well, thank you. I'll use this as my official invitation at this point. But there are people that are listening right now, and I hope that they're really excited. We've given them plenty of time to get a tablet or a device or a pen or pencil, if you want to do it the old-fashioned way, to make sure that you get the information to find out about this awesome opportunity to really refine some of the things in your life and to keep you on the right track, or to perhaps challenge you about the way you're doing certain things right now. This is just a great time to be able to think about this through this seminar, this day of opportunity to become financially literate and empowered, so that you can know exactly how you can move forward in the course of your life. Tell us how people would get more information about this. How can they be there?
Okay, so you can go to the rightway360.com, or you can follow us on Facebook, IG, TikTok, almost all social media, YouTube, and we are posting almost every day what to expect, what you need. If you need to get your tickets, all of that, you can just go to rightway360.com. We made it simple, and just click on that button and you'll be able to come to buy your tickets. So you'll be there. It's April 5th from 10 a.m. in the morning to 2 p.m. at Alabama A&M at the Buchanan Hall. And if you have any questions, just send us a quick DM at the rightway360.com.
I also like the notion that, you said it's from 10 to 2. Sometimes, people want to do things all day long, and that's okay if they want to, but you risk the possibility of stretching people and wearing people out. But this is an academic environment. It's on a weekend, so you want to hit them and quit it, like James Brown used to say. You want to get in there and get out, give them what they need and then step aside and then let them have the rest of the day. I really like that because you're talking about a short-term commitment for a long-term investment.
Right.
And if people look at it that way, they'll definitely want to come out and be a part of it. If people want to just keep connected to you guys, you mentioned web page activity, and you also mentioned social media presence. Let people know how they can do that too, because they don't have to wait till next week to begin getting the information that they need. They can start getting that now.
Absolutely. You can start following us right now on the rightway360.com, like I said, and the Right Way 360 on all social media platforms. We give out information. You can join the groups Healthy Wealthy Habits on Facebook, the Right Way 360 Wealth Group on Facebook. Most of our groups are on Facebook. But again, that you can start getting that information right then and there, so that you actually have your questions together when you come to the event. And when you come to the event, like you said, it's a short-term commitment, but it's not from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. just a mundane sit there and blah 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 talk at you. No, we don't operate like that. We're talking about Dre Labor Day, who's going to be on the ones and twos along with DJ Your Boy. We're going to have a concert with Mill Music, who's going to be performing live. We got to have, like I say, prizes and giveaways. We've got food trucks that are going to be there, and there's going to be free food available at the event as well, because we want to make sure that everybody has their
in the belly.
snacks
Because
going.
we don't want your belly talking to you while other people are talking.
Right.
Now, and we're also going to have breakout rooms also. Yes. So if you may want to know more about credit, you can go to that room and it'll be the credit people over there. And if you just wanted to go see Redstone, they will have a room also. You will go there. So everything is going to be more of a panel style, fun, youthful, and just because nobody likes lectures.
Nobody wants to be lectured at for that long. We don't even want to sit through that. Right. Right. We wouldn't put you through that because we don't want to sit through it. No. It's going to be fun, interactive. Like I said, the students are going to get paid to be there if they open their account. You can't beat that, along with all of the value that they're going to get. You're going to be able to ask questions right there with the experts, and you're going to get your answers right on the spot.
Right. Nope.
If they're Redstone customers already, doesn't qualify?
That I don't know.
What's the question?
If they're Redstone customers already.
No, it does not. You have to be new.
Yes.
You have to be the first time opening the account.
Yeah.
All right. All right. I'm just thinking out loud because there's a lot of people.
I said the same thing too, and that was the first question I asked her. She was like, "No, they got to be you."
Oh well, okay.
Right.
Well, next time, hold
on. Then again, there's also, like I said, there's still opportunity for the prizes. We are going to be awarding scholarships at the event as well. So there's benefit all the way around.
All the way around. I love it. It is absolutely coming up, folks, on next weekend. It will take place on April the 5th. Boy, I'm saying April already. That's crazy that we're already through the first quarter of the year. It is the 360 Wealth Money Talks Roundtable College Edition at my very own Alabama A&M University. Go Bulldogs. And Buchanan Hall, a place that, from the old days, we remember that, of course, has been renovated. And we're happy to know that they are, Lorenzo and Sarha, Wright. They're running the show, folks. And we're so glad that they once again came. We may do like a follow-up conversation, just kind of hear from you guys about how things went and just keep driving this information out there. I just think that you guys are doing a wonderful thing and people are benefiting from it. Yes. And the more that people can benefit from it, the more we want them to hear from you all. So maybe we'll talk about doing that.
Yeah,
we'd love that.
And then one more thing I wanted to say: some people may not be able to make it, and they want to know how they can support us. They can support us by buying some of our merch, which is the book, and then Nyla's Check Adventure that's out there that they can still buy. And then there's a new book coming out, which is Tatiana's Money Alphabet Adventure. So that's another way of supporting the mission, and most proceeds go to doing what we're doing with the Money Talk Roundtable.
Yeah. And who is the author of Nyla?
Nyla is Sarha Wright.
She's being modest.
I know. I'm like, you better shout out, girl.
I'm always modest.
I'm married to a #1 best-selling author. Okay, Nyla's Check Adventures out now at nylascheckadventure.com. And she's got another book on the way, along with a coloring book, an interactive learning kit for kids, young kids, so that they can learn the beauty of understanding their money early so they don't get into debt when they're our age.
Yes.
Sarah, you let us handle this. Did you see that, Lorenzo? We got, stuff that people can check out, so and such and such.
Yeah.
I'm so modest.
Listen.
I know the author. He knows the author. Thank you, guys. I appreciate y'all. Have a good rest of the day, all right?
You too. Thanks, Kenny. We appreciate it.
All right, see you soon.
All right, now.
Folks, we're just going to keep the energy going. This has been a great show today, and I've had so much fun talking to all of my guests. Again, that was Lorenzo and Sarha Wright at the Right Way 360 Wealth Group, and they're having a big Money Talks Roundtable College Edition. It's coming up on this coming weekend, April 5th at Alabama A&M University on Buchanan, at Buchanan Hall. And of course, we're excited about that. My next guest is Dr. Roland Hill. He is the CEO and president of the International Association of Godpreneurs Foundation. He, of course, has been on our broadcast before, sharing information about some things. But there's a very big conference coming up, and I don't know if I planned this the way it went down, but we're just talking about financial literacy and awareness and success in business and so much more. If you've not heard about BAM 25, Business is Ministry Conference, that's coming up pretty soon now. We want to make sure that you get all the information that you need in order to be a part of this important event. Dr. Hill is with us today. Dr. Hill, how are you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing extremely well, ecstatically happy, overflowing with joy. Thank you for asking, sir.
Hey, man, that sounds good. I want some of that overflow right there. That just sounds really good.
Every day, wake me up in the morning. It's the same thing, sir. God has been so good to me.
Listen, we're in the same space as far as that's concerned, because you and I both know there's a lot going on in the world today, and gratitude sits at the very top of my daily list. So yes. I'm with you 100%. Man, this is exciting. BAM 25, Business is Ministry Conference. Tell me a little bit about what this conference is focusing on.
This is focusing on helping people to see that business ownership is ministry. Let me say that again. Not just a fun ministry, but it is ministry.
And tell me what you mean by that.
Well, let me first of all say I come to this from a pastor standpoint, okay? And I've seen how business people within our church community often are appreciated just simply for giving funds to fund what we do. And I've also seen that there is this kind of understanding that, well, you're doing business, but it's secular and it really doesn't have much to do with ministry. This conference says the very fact that you're in business for yourself, that is ministry just as much as me standing in the pulpit and preaching. So when they leave the conference, they're convinced that this is a God's call on their life to do business as ministry, creating the wealth necessary to do kingdom work. But more than that, that the very work that they're doing is kingdom work.
Who's your target audience?
Man, you asked the right question, sir.
I try.
You know, this is a broad-based concern because most people don't see that there is a call for what I call Godpreneurship. And so we are concerned about college students. We're concerned about single parents. We're concerned about people who are in the middle income. We're concerned with people who own the businesses, have been doing it for a while, but wanted to be inspired to know that this is a God calling on their life. It's an anointed calling on their life. It's concerned for, you'll like this one, senior citizens.
I love that.
Please ask me why senior citizens.
Listen, I get it. If somebody needs a little bit of understanding, that's great. But, the twilight years of one's life, that's actually a great point, because you have a lot of people who transition into that business space later in life.
Yes.
Whether that's because their desire has manifested itself or because they waited to a certain time in life to be able to devote the energy and the focus that they need to a certain kind of thing. So whether we're, moving into our 50s, 60s, it's not the end of time for people. Sometimes it is the right time for people to step into that space,
right,
in order to do that. And I'm sure you see that too.
And that is one of my major concerns. We live in a community here in the Huntsville area where there are a lot of people that are retired and they're concerned about what am I going to do in this season, okay? And the reality is that you have years of experience, okay? You have years of wisdom that you bring, and that still needs to be given out to the world.
Yes.
And we're blessed now with technology that allows them to do it without having to get up and go somewhere and do it. So I inspire senior citizens to think in terms of creating a business on the internet through teaching their wisdom that they've learned through the years. So yeah, it's a full experience. Now, my wife and I, as you remember now, we've always run youth entrepreneur training camps. And that's why I said we are concerned about that generation as well, because the generation that's come on now will not experience jobs like we used to. There's not going to ever be again any 30 years and out and you get a pension. Corporations today are saying you will work for us to 3 to 5 years. We're teaching you or allowing you to build your skills, but then you're going to have to go out as an entrepreneur and make it on your own. I heard your last guys that were on the program, and I'm applauding them that they're talking to college students, because many college students, when they come out, they're not going to be able to find a job that will meet the type of education that they have and manage the loans that they've gotten to go to school. So we invite university students to come as well. Let me take a step back. We're concerned about empowering people theologically, philosophically. We want them to believe that this is God's call on their life. Okay. So it's exciting. The BAM conference is what it is. It is business as ministry. And I like to say it is like a worship service that will be going on the full 26th on the day of April the 26th through 27th. Mainly on the 26th, we'll have about 5 or 6 presentations, and they will be interactive and exciting. We bring a lot of excitement when we do presentations. It's not the type where you're going to sit down and listen to a lecture. No, we have you highly involved. And then I'm going to break it with a sermon in between, just a 20-minute sermon. And I'm going to preach from one of the books that's going to be a gift, or part of the package, rather. Part of the package when you come is entitled Success is Bigger Than Me. I've preached it all over the world, and the message has had tremendous impact on people. And I'll be teaching from another one of my books. It's called Wealth is in Your Worship, Not in Your Works. That will be the first seminar presentation. But my wife and I are not doing this alone. We have 3 other presenters that will be working with us. We have Mia Powell, who will be working with us, because if your mental health isn't right, then it's going to be difficult to think in terms of running a business. And if you're running a business, your mental health can actually drive you out of business. And then we have another guy called Larry Walters that's going to help us see how our personality determines how we're going to run the business. And he's going to pair our personality with the businesses that we're called to do, or the ones that we're in. And then finally, one of the young men that I have personally mentored, from a $12.46 an hour to a multi-million-dollar business now, he's going to teach the theology of estate planning. Let me say that again. The theology of estate planning. And I shared with him the information through the years and mentored him. And he saw, as he said, Dr. Hill, you showed me the theology to help me look at estate planning a way no one is looking at. And he's designed a whole estate planning program that is now talking to literally thousands of people across the country.
It all sounds extremely exciting, and I'm looking at the beautiful flyer that was created, by the way, that we've been pushing out there on some of our social media sites. We'll keep pushing that out there on the Second Chance page as we get closer to that time.
Thank you.
We're just really only 3 weeks away, in essence, because we're like facing this month of April down beginning next week. And then, of course, it starts escalating. We've got alumni weekend the weekend before. And so just a lot of stuff. And I shouldn't say alumni weekend that blandly. Oakwood University's homecoming.
Right.
For those that are listening, every place that people are listening. Key discussions and insights. You talked a little bit about this, but kingdom economics, family and wealth, health and wealth, wisdom and wealth, estate planning, mental health and wealth creation. Dr. Hill, talk to me a little bit about why it was important to diversify this conversation in a way that touches multiple areas, because you've alluded to it already. If you have one without the other, then there can be some gaps and some deficiencies and that kind of thing. Some conferences try to focus on one or two things, but this is covering a nice broad range of topics. And I know there had to be some intention in doing that, and wondered if you'd talk a little bit about why that is.
Wealth creation, money management is a whole life process. It's a total life process. And sometimes when we focus on just simply one area, people say, well, I get this together, while they leave the others undone. And so we believe in a stewardship approach to wealth creation, that every part of our life should be managed. And one of the areas that's seldom talked about is the mental area, the mental health area. And because I've been on the front line of ministry for over 50 years, I've seen how people's mental state affects their ability to manage the resources and their willingness to even step out to say, I'll start my own business. So part of what we're saying is when you get your mental health together, it's easier for you to manage your resources, and you begin to see opportunities where we can create wealth. So that's why. And then this whole personality part of what we're teaching is our personalities affect everything we do. There are extroverts and there are introverts. And sometimes people feel like I can't go into business because I'm an introvert. No, that's not true. Some of the greatest and most wealthiest people in the world are introverts. They recognize their personality and say, well, this is what I need to supplement me, or this is how I'm going to go about doing it. So this whole personality segment is critical in helping people at least provide a foundation for, number one, managing my resources, and number two, seeing the possibilities of starting and operating your own business.
I also noticed on the flyer that there'll be 3 meals, or if that's changed, you can certainly let us know.
No, we're going to feed folks. We'll have our breakouts, and then we'll also have our meal, our big lunch meal. Will be around the noon hour. We want to make sure you're fed. We will be there all day. It is a full day's process. And so we want to make sure that people feel like, you know what? I not only got some theory, some theology, but I also got some other food as well. And again, let me stress, part of the cost to come, you will also get materials that you will take along with you. Yep. As I talked to you about, 2 books that you will get that literally has changed the way people think. The book, Wealth is in Your Worship, Not in Your Works. I'm going to teach from that. Man, that book, I'm going to tell you, that's an anointed book. I know because I sat down and wrote it under the auspices of God. I was out on sabbatical back in 2010, and I was going to just edit out some sermons and make it into a book. And God spoke to me and said, I'm going to reveal to you information that you've never seen or heard of before, and you will put it in this book. So when I teach you this, when you read it, it will literally give you a theological boost that will rocket you into space. By the way, we are having it at the Marriott at the Space and Rocket Center, and we plan to bam people into glory.
It's interesting. I was really fighting to push back away from this because I want people to come and be a part of this. But I hope that you'll just tease us a little bit with wealth and worship and that whole notion. Because a lot of people, we had a big wealth conversation with our last guest, and wealth is one of those conversations a lot of people have. Money's one of those conversations a lot of people have, and people have some ideas about how to get it, and they have ideas about how it works or maybe doesn't work. And you seem to be suggesting that there may be a missing ingredient in this process for people, that if they looked at it and shifted their perspective, might result in a different outcome. I don't want you to tell us everything you're going to teach on, but can you tease that piece out just a little bit for us?
Kenny, I'm excited to do it.
Good.
Because there's so much misinformation about wealth and money. Because the church really hasn't done a good job of teaching and sharing. And so people come to wealth creation, money management, one with guilt, And then 2, with distorted views about wealth. And so over the last 40 years, I've written, studied, and presented information that literally frees people to see the God in money. The Word of God says in Deuteronomy chapter 8 and verse 18, but remember the Lord your God, for it is he that gives you the power to get wealth. And here's why. It's all in the text, so that he might establish his covenant. And so when we think in terms of the gift of wealth that God gives, it is part of his covenant that says to the world, you're in a relationship with me. And because you're in a relationship with me, I'm going to make sure that all of your needs are taken care of at a way where people will know that you and I are in a relationship. And then taking it further, wealth is something that is a gift. It is a gift. It is a part of the grace that God gives us. Let me say it in another way. We don't earn wealth. It is given to us. I need to say that one more time, because that's one of the genius of what we teach. Okay. Because we think that we get our wealth because of our work. No, we get our wealth because God in his faithfulness and grace says, I'm going to give you this gift. Now, I call it the paradox of production. It looks like we're doing all the work, but on closer examination, is God doing all the work through us. That's the thing that keeps us humble. That's the thing that keeps us from thinking that we got to work 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, and all of that kind of stuff. Because God says, I'm going to give you the desires of your heart. If you will trust me, I will give you what you need for your life. So that in the conference, we teach that wealth is part of my worship. By stopping 1 day a week, I feel like preaching on this one. By stopping 1 day a week, you confess that I don't have anything to give into the world, that God revives and gives me value. And that is what I take into the world to continue to expand this whole idea of wealth. Let me give you another one. And I take it much further in the presentation because I've been writing for a long time. All wealth comes from an idea. And all ideas come from nothing. And the only one that can create from nothing is God. Not even the devil can create wealth. Or I should say, not only the devil cannot create an idea. That's my point. He can't create an idea. He has to take the ideas of God and uses them for nefarious purposes. So that when we talk about wealth creation, we're literally talking about God implanting ideas in our hearts and in our minds by grace. And that is how we are able to take this gift called wealth creation into the marketplace solely as a gift from God.
If people are not bubbling over with enthusiasm at this point, I need to check their pulses. We may need to make some phone calls and get some CPR done. Call 911. Revive these people. I am excited. I am enthusiastic. And I want people to make sure that they know how they can be a part of this very special experience that's coming up toward the end of the month of April. It's April 26th and 27th. There should be a lot of excitement about it. There should be a lot of people in the room because the very things that Dr. Hill and his wife and others are going to be teaching on are things that I know that you're talking about, and you're trying to figure out ways to make certain things happen, or you're kind of maybe assessing a situation. And, well, we tried this, but this didn't work. And it sounds like this is a great opportunity to be in a space that examines the journey towards this outcome that can actually provide some stepping stones along the way to help you navigate the process. So, Dr. Hill, tell us again, it's the BAM 25 Businesses Ministry Conference. Where is it? When does it take place? What times are people invested in? And then give us a website where people can get the other details about where they register and stuff like that.
The conference will be held April 26th through 27th this year at the Marriott Space and Rocket Center. And it's 5 Tranquility Base right here in Huntsville. And you can go to the website, www.familylifedoctors.com. And you can find out all of the information you need to know. You can register there. In fact, when you go through the website, you will see an impressive array of things that we'll be sharing at the conference.
It sounds like, and this of course is one of those communities that I'm always saying, I think this is most communities, but I live here, so I'm focusing on this community. I know for a fact that when I first went to work for the city back in 2013, I did an assessment of our Madison County area, and I was able to track at that time about 660 different faith congregations.
Wow.
Some were small baby congregations, some were mid-sized, some were huge. And I know we tend to focus on the huge congregations to get them involved. These are oftentimes congregations that have tiered ministry levels and tiered leadership levels and focus on things that they're doing. And we kind of ignore the mid-range or the smaller congregations that may be just as engaged, maybe just as in need. And so to know that there are at least 600 plus congregations out there, your members, you're listening this afternoon. I know people from all over this community listen to this broadcast. You need to tell somebody this afternoon. You need to share this video with somebody. You need to let them know about the website, www.familylifedoctors.com. Somebody heard this conversation this afternoon and said, you know what? This is the information I've been praying for. This is the thing that I've been asking God to reveal to me. It just happened. www.familylifedoctors.com is where you need to go this afternoon. You don't need to do anything else after the show goes off except go to that website and check out the information that's available for this awesome and amazing event. Dr. Roland Hill, it is always great to talk to you. This conference looks like it's going to be the one, especially coming on the heels of an awesome Oakwood University homecoming weekend the week before, which a lot of people are excited. I know I'm excited about that, but then we just keep it going the following weekend with the BAM 25 Business as Ministry Conference, Huntsville Marriott Space and Rocket Center, Fire Tranquility Base. Again, I'm going to tell you folks, you got to be a part of this event. You got to share this information with somebody. You might say, well, my schedule won't allow me to do this. You're probably talking to somebody who was just talking to you about this kind of stuff. So share the information with them. Someone in your circle of influence can benefit from this experience, and I hope you'll take full advantage of it. www.familylifedoctors, that's plural.com. You can get all the information you need, and we hope that you'll do that. Dr. Hill, I hope that there are lots of people registering this afternoon. I hope that lots of people will register for the next few weeks as you approach this conference, and maybe we'll also have you come back and talk about the post experience. What was it like? What happened? I know there are going to be stories of liberation and freedom and progress and empowerment. There are going to be all kind of great things. And if there's perhaps a special person that you want to bring with you, then they've got a special story to tell. We could create a really, really dynamic and engaging conversation around that as a post experience to this awesome event.
Can I say this last thing for you?
Absolutely.
I love what you said about all of the churches at the community. I pastored the small churches, developed this information for small churches, because oftentimes they are blocked out of the larger community where information is shared. And most times the information is not developed for small communities or small churches. This works in small churches, medium churches, mega-sized churches, because it's theologically sound. It's an economic system that comes out of the Word of God. So you're empowered wherever you are.
I love it too. And that's just further confirmation that you need to be there, folks. www.familylifedoctors.com. You have a business. You're in school, maybe majoring in business or wanting to start a business. You've been in business a while, and maybe you're floundering and you're not quite sure where things are going, or maybe you're being very successful and you want to be even more successful. This is the place to be, folks. It is the BAM 25 Businesses Ministry Conference. This is very unique. This is a different approach to this conversation.
Totally different, Kenny.
Yeah, and I feel that. And people that really hear what we're saying might just say, oh, that's piqued my interest. I've tried these things, but let me check this out and see maybe there's something that I'm missing in this equation. So, Dr. Hill, thank you for joining me this afternoon. I look forward to talking to you again soon. Dr. Roland Hill joining me this afternoon, rounding off a great afternoon of conversations. He is a theo-economist. And wow, what a powerful, powerful event he's bringing along with his wife, Dr. Susie Hill, to this community. The BAM 25 Businesses Ministry Conference, Huntsville Marriott, at the Space and Record Center, 5 Tranquility Base. One more time, www.familylifedoctors.com. You need to check it out and be a part of it. I'm going to come back in just a minute, tell you about what's happening next week. I'm Kenny Anderson at Second Chance. Hope you're having an amazing afternoon.
Perhaps you have some ideas, comments, or suggestions that you would like to share. Or perhaps you'd like to be a guest on the broadcast. We'd love to hear from you. Please feel free to email Kenny Anderson at mxlife@aol.com, or you can like us on the Second Chance Facebook page. That's 2ND Chance. And now, back to more of Second Chance with Kenny Anderson.
What an awesome broadcast this afternoon. I'm just gonna pinch myself because wow, I was the beneficiary of some amazing conversations today. I learned a lot. I hope you have too. Dr. Bryan Samuel joined me. He's the Vice President of Access, Connections, and Engagement at UAH, talking about his book, Finding Myself, A Journey from the Projects to the Ph.D. Armand Hutton, founder and CEO of Hutton Records, joining me with Jeremy Jordan, the Director of Choral Affairs at the great Oakwood University, talking about his latest project, Resist. That was a collaboration with some Oakwood students and was actually a portion of it highlighted. Voices were highlighted in the Super Bowl this past year at halftime, doing a halftime show. Lorenzo and Sarha Wright of the Right Way 360 group, talking about the big Money Talks Roundtable College Edition, and Dr. Roland Hill sharing information about the big BAM 25 Businesses Ministry Conference. On next Sunday, it's What's Going On, my social and political roundtable. We'll have some combination of expert guests and commentators reflecting on things that are happening in the world today. And as always, we hope that you'll be a part of the conversation. In the meantime, I hope that you have a great rest of the day. Remember, as always, knowledge is better than riches. Have a great afternoon, and we'll talk again soon. Good day.
Thank you for tuning in to Second Chance. We hope that the information that was shared has been a blessing to you and that your life will be enriched as a result of it. We'd love to hear from you. So please send your email comments to Kenneth Anderson at mxlife@aol.com. That's mxlife@aol.com. And check out our Facebook page, 2ND Chance. That's 2ND Chance. In the meantime, have a great week, and we'll talk to you again next week. Good day.